I used to take long walks at night to clear my head. It started during college, when I had trouble sleeping, and the habit stuck. Something about the silence, the cool air, the way the streetlights carved shadows across the pavement, it helped me think. There's a railroad crossing about half a mile from my apartment, the kind that's rarely used anymore. No gates, no flashing lights. Just 2 rusting steel rails and a faded wooden sign. At night, it felt abandoned, almost forgotten, which made it perfect for my walks. I'd pause there sometimes, listening. Just listening. One night, I noticed something strange. The crossing had a signal pole, the kind with a blinking red light that's supposed to warn of oncoming trains. Except this one had been dead for as long as I could remember. But that night, it was blinking. I stopped, staring at it. The red light pulsed slow and steady, exactly 3 blinks, then a pause, then 3 more. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't bright, but it was unmistakably working. I didn't move for a long time. There was no train. No sound. Just that blinking. Eventually, I laughed it off. Probably someone finally fixed the signal. Still, I took out my phone and snapped a picture. I walked back home, feeling more on edge than usual. I checked the photo before bed. The pole was there, but the light wasn't blinking in the picture. In fact, it wasn't lit at all. Just a black, empty bulb. I didn't sleep well. The next night, I walked the same route. The signal was off again, dead like it used to be. No blinking. No sound. I kept walking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I didn't see anyone that night, which isn't too unusual for a weekday. But on my way back, maybe 100 feet from the crossing, I saw someone standing there. Just standing. A man in a dark coat, motionless, facing away from me. I slowed down. He didn't move. I kept my distance, trying to decide whether to call out or just turn back. He stood right on the tracks, his posture stiff, like he was waiting for something. I took a step forward, and he shifted, just slightly, his head tilting like he'd heard me. That was enough. I backed up and took a side street home, heart pounding the whole way. I tried to forget about it. I told myself maybe he was just walking like I was. Just someone else with insomnia. But deep down, I knew better. That man hadn't been walking. He'd been waiting. For something. Or someone. I skipped the walks for a few days after that. I made excuses, told myself I was tired, that it was too cold. But every night, around the same time, I'd feel drawn to the crossing. Like a thread was pulling me back. One night I gave in. I needed to know if the man would be there again. Needed to prove to myself that I hadn't imagined him. That it was just a coincidence. The light was blinking again when I arrived, 3 pulses, then silence. And sure enough, the man was there. Same spot. Same coat. This time, he was facing me. But there was something wrong with his face. Even from a distance, I could tell it didn't look right. It was too long. And pale. And still. Like it wasn't a face at all. I didn't move. Neither did he. The red signal blinked its slow rhythm, 3 pulses, pause, repeat. It cast faint glows over the man's face, and with each blink, I saw more detail. His eyes were open, but too wide, like they'd been forced that way. His mouth hung slightly ajar, unmoving. The skin was wrong. Tight. Waxen. I wanted to believe it was a trick of the light, some play of shadows. But the longer I stared, the more convinced I became that his face wasn't a face. Not one that could smile. Or speak. Or blink. It was a mask. A mask of a man. He started walking toward me. Not fast. Not with any sense of urgency. Just a steady pace. The signal blinked behind him like a heartbeat. I stepped back once, then twice. My legs didn't want to move. My chest tightened. That sound, steel groaning, cut through the air. It was the sound of something heavy approaching. I turned and ran. Not toward home, but along the tracks. Stupid, I know. But my brain had latched onto the idea that I had to see where the sound was coming from. I ran for what felt like miles before I stopped, gasping, bent over. When I looked up, I saw it. A train. Only, it wasn't real. The rails in front of me were empty, but the sound, clattering metal, the screech of brakes, it was deafening. The wind rushed past me as if something enormous had just passed. But there was nothing there. Nothing. I turned back toward the crossing. He was closer now. Still walking. Still watching. I ran again, this time toward home. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. When I finally slammed my door shut behind me, my shirt was soaked through with sweat. That night I didn't sleep. In the morning, I walked back to the tracks in daylight. The signal was dead again. No blinking light. Nothing unusual. Except for the footprints. They weren't mine. They came from the tracks and stopped 10 feet from where I'd first seen him. 2 sets. One set walking toward me. The other set, walking beside them. Smaller. Shallower. Like a child's. I didn't go back after that. I avoided the crossing entirely. Changed my routes. Started taking walks in the opposite direction. It worked for a while. Until last week. I woke up to the sound of metal. That deep groaning noise of rails bending under weight. I looked out my bedroom window and saw nothing. No train. No lights. Just fog curling along the sidewalk. And then, from the corner of the yard, someone stepped out. A tall figure. In a dark coat. I froze. He wasn't moving toward the house. Just standing there. Waiting. Like before. I closed the blinds and backed away from the window, heart hammering. I wanted to call someone. Anyone. But what would I say? That a man I saw at an abandoned railroad crossing was now standing on my lawn? I didn't sleep again that night. 2 days later, I found a photo taped to my front door. Just a Polaroid. No note. No message. Just a grainy image. It was me. Standing at the crossing. Next to him. We were holding hands. And behind us, barely visible in the shadows, was the faint outline of a small child. I walked the same loop every night, a figure 8 around my neighborhood. It's exactly 2.2 miles, and I've memorized every crack in the sidewalk, every flickering porch light, every yard that smells faintly of cigarettes after 10 p.m. It's a ritual. I don't use headphones, never bring my phone. The point is silence. One night, about a month ago, I noticed something that didn't belong. It started with a shape in the distance. I was rounding the southern loop of the figure 8, the part that cuts through a row of older homes with dim, yellow porch lights. There's one particular house, white with blue shutters, that's always had an empty porch. But that night, someone was sitting there. Not moving. Not rocking. Just sitting. It wasn't strange in itself. People sit on porches. But what caught my attention was the posture. Too stiff. Like whoever it was had been placed there. Set down. No phone in hand, no cup, no cigarette. Just stillness. I passed by without slowing. Something about their presence prickled at my neck. I didn't look directly. Just kept moving. The next night, they were there again. Same posture. Same porch. This time I glanced sideways and noticed something strange. Their head was turned, just slightly, following me as I passed. Not enough to be certain. Just enough to feel seen. On the third night they were gone. I walked past the house with a strange disappointment. Then I reached the northern loop and saw them again, on a completely different porch. 2 blocks away. Same clothes. Same posture. Facing the street. That's when I knew they were walking too. But only when I wasn't watching. I started tracking their position in my head. Each lap I took around the figure 8, I'd spot them once. Always stationary. Always ahead of me, as if they'd taken a shortcut. On night 5 I stopped walking. Stood still at the midpoint between the loops and waited. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Then I heard a footstep behind me. Just one. I didn't turn. I walked straight home, cutting the loop short. My hands were sweating. I didn't tell anyone. What was there to say? I didn't even know if it was real. I stayed in the next night. And the one after that. But the loop called to me. Not in a poetic way. I mean it literally. It felt like something was unfinished. Like I hadn't closed the door all the way. So I walked again. And there he was. Standing at the far end of the loop. This time not on a porch, but in the middle of the sidewalk. Closer than before. I got a better look at him now. His clothes were ordinary, jeans, gray hoodie, white sneakers, but too clean. Like they'd never been worn. His face was wrong in a way I can't describe. Not grotesque. Not uncanny. Just unfinished. Like something that hadn't been drawn all the way. I walked past him, heartbeat pounding, and refused to look back. But I heard him. Matching my steps. One for one. All the way around the loop. When I finally reached the midpoint again, I stopped. Waited. I could hear him stop too, just behind me. Then, after a long moment, I heard his voice. It was flat. Paper thin. Like a recording. You missed a step. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just kept walking, faster this time, completing the loop again, hoping that would somehow fix it. That finishing the walk properly, closing the figure 8, would reset everything. It didn't. He followed. Always behind me. Always matching my steps. It wasn't an echo. I tested it. I'd take 3 steps, stop, take 2 more. His pace mimicked mine exactly, like a game he knew better than I did. I began walking the loop every night after that, obsessively. Not because I wanted to, but because I felt I had to. Something had changed in me. A compulsion, like an itch in the center of my chest. I had to walk it. Had to finish it. Had to see where he'd be next. Each night, he stood in a different spot. Not randomly either. It was like he was tracing my route, step by step, porch by porch, streetlight by streetlight. He was moving forward. Advancing. And I couldn't tell if he was following me, or if I was walking toward him. On the 10th night, I decided not to walk. I lay in bed, heart pounding, blinds shut. I thought if I could break the pattern, it would end. Maybe he'd vanish, disappear into whatever unreal place he came from. But sometime around midnight, I heard footsteps outside. Soft. Measured. Pacing in front of my house. I crept to the window and peeked through the blinds. He was walking the loop. Alone. Without me. It's hard to explain what that did to me. The idea that I'd created a rhythm, a ritual, and he could now do it without me, it felt like I'd handed something over. Some kind of control. The next night, I was waiting at the start of the loop before the streetlights flickered on. He didn't appear until halfway through. Same spot as before. Middle of the sidewalk. Facing me now. I stopped. He raised his hand slowly. Not a wave. Just lifted it, like a mirror reflection. And I realized that's exactly what he was. Not just copying my walk. He was becoming me. Wearing the same shoes I'd worn the night before. Same jacket. Same posture. He even had the same slight limp I got from stepping on a loose brick 3 nights earlier. The only difference left was the face. Still blurry. Still unfinished. I ran home, my route unraveling behind me. That night I woke up gasping. Standing in the middle of my bedroom. Facing the mirror. But my reflection wasn't doing what I was doing. It just stared. Blank-faced. Then slowly, it smiled. I didn't sleep again after that. Every night since, I've walked the loop. Not because I want to. Because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. He walks it too. And each night, he looks more like me. His steps feel heavier now, like he's sinking into the pavement. Leaving footprints that I can't quite see, but I know they're there. Last night, I tripped near the midpoint. Skinned my knee on the sidewalk. Tonight, he has a bloodstain on his jeans. He's closer now. Sometimes, when I turn a corner, I think I see him out of the corner of my eye. Not ahead. Not behind. beside me. There's one final difference between us, and I think he's saving it for last. My face.it started as a game. A stupid tradition, really. A whistle you do when walking alone at night, just two quick, shrill notes. Like a bird call. It was something my older brother used to do when we were kids. If we got separated in the woods, we'd do that whistle to find each other again. I kept doing it after he left for college. Then after he died. He was hit by a drunk driver when I was 17. Walking home late. That was what got me. He was walking. Like we always did. Like I still did. So, I kept the whistle. 2 short notes. Every time I turned a corner or stepped onto a new street, I'd do it. It made me feel less alone. Until last November. That's when someone answered. It was a cold, brittle night, just before midnight. I was walking along 12th Street, cutting through the old neighborhood where all the houses sit a little too far back from the sidewalk. The streetlights were buzzing. The pavement glittered faintly with frost. I did the whistle. Sharp and loud. 2 notes. A pause. Then, farther down the street, beyond the curve, I heard it back. The same whistle. 2 notes. The exact tone and timing. I stopped walking. Listened hard. Nothing. Just the wind rattling dry leaves across the road. I did the whistle again. This time, the reply came faster. Same notes. A little closer. I told myself it had to be someone playing along. Maybe another night walker like me. Maybe someone who used to know the game. But I didn't move. I waited. 30 seconds passed. Then I heard footsteps. Slow ones? Scraping, almost. Not rhythmic like a jogger. Not casual like a walker. They dragged. Closer and closer. I couldn't see anyone, but the sound kept coming. Not fast, but steady. 1 foot, then the other. Scuff. Step. Scuff. Step. I backed away, heart pounding. The footsteps stopped. Then, the whistle again. Right around the corner this time. The sound of someone just out of sight. Someone waiting. I turned and ran. Didn't stop until I was inside my apartment, double-locking the door behind me. I didn't even take off my coat. I just stood there in the kitchen, shaking. I didn't sleep well that night. My dreams were filled with long, narrow streets and frost-covered windows. Every time I turned in my sleep, I heard that whistle, low and close, like someone leaning in to hum it into my ear. 2 notes. That was all. The next night I walked again. I shouldn't have. But it didn't feel right to stop. It felt like quitting. Like letting him win. I stayed closer to home this time. Kept to the main streets. No alleys. No shortcuts. I didn't whistle. I didn't even breathe loud. But someone else did. From across the street, in the shadows near a telephone pole, I heard it again. 2 notes. Then footsteps. Closer this time. Deliberate. I turned and walked fast, but not too fast. Didn't want to look scared. But I was. My skin felt too tight. My spine was buzzing. When I reached my building, I stopped and looked back. The street was empty. But there was a sound behind me. Someone whispering. I turned. A note had been left on my door. Folded neatly. No name. Just 6 words, written in jagged block letters. You forgot the last whistle. I didn't open the note right away. I stood there, on the landing outside my apartment, holding it with both hands, trying not to let them shake. The paper was cold. Like it had been sitting outside for a while. Eventually, I went inside, locked the door, turned every light on, and sat at the kitchen table to read it again. You forgot the last whistle. It didn't make sense. The whistle only had 2 notes. That's how it had always been, 2 sharp bursts. That was the whole game. There was no last whistle. Unless they meant something else. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening for sounds. Once, just before dawn, I swore I heard the whistle again, so soft it could have been in my head. But it still made my chest tighten like someone had reached inside me and pinched my lungs. I didn't go out the next night. Or the night after. But I kept thinking about the game. The whistle. My brother. It was our thing. It never scared me until now. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it was never a game at all. On the third night I cracked. I left my apartment just after 11 and started walking the same route. The streets felt different. Tighter. The air had that charged stillness right before a storm. I reached 12th Street. The same spot where I'd heard the reply. I did the whistle. 2 notes. The silence that followed felt too long. My heart thudded against my ribs. Then I heard it. 3 notes. Low. Flat. Wrong. Like someone imitating the sound but not understanding the rhythm. Like something pretending. I turned around, ready to head back, but I wasn't alone. A figure was standing beneath the streetlight at the corner. It wasn't close enough for me to see clearly, but I knew it wasn't right. Too tall. Too thin. Arms a little too long. And the head, tilted to one side like it didn't know how necks were supposed to work. It whistled again. 3 notes. I didn't run this time. I don't know why. Maybe because I knew I'd be followed. Maybe because I felt I'd already lost something. So I walked forward. Toward it. As I got closer, I started to make out details. Its clothes looked like mine. My old jacket. My shoes from last winter. Things I'd donated or thrown out. Its skin was stretched tight, like plastic over bone. Its eyes were too deep. Too still. And its mouth. It smiled. Then it did the whistle again. 2 notes. Pause. 1 long, shrieking third. I clamped my hands over my ears, but I could still feel it vibrating through my teeth, through my spine, like it was inside me now. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was lying in the middle of 12th Street. Alone. Except for a note folded neatly in my coat pocket. The game's yours now. I haven't walked since. But every night I hear it. That last whistle. Soft. Insistent. There's a wooded trail behind my apartment complex that splits into 3 paths about half a mile in. Locals call it the Fork. But most people avoid it at night. I didn't. I liked walking there, earbuds out, hoodie up, hands in my pockets, just thinking. The left path curves toward the main road and the right one loops back toward a playground. But the middle path is straight. Narrow. Unmarked. You have to step over a split log to get onto it. I only took that path once. Just once. It was early November, the kind of night where the air feels dry and electric, like it's waiting for something. I had insomnia and a knot in my chest, so I figured I'd walk it off. I left around 11:30, taking the usual route into the woods. It was silent, no wind, no bugs, just my own breath and the faint crunch of leaves. When I reached the fork, something made me stop. There was a shape at the start of the middle path. I thought it was a person at first, tall still, hunched slightly, but it didn't move. I looked harder. It wasn't a person. Just a coat someone had hung on a branch. It had probably been there for days. I stepped over the log. The air changed immediately. Not colder. Just heavier. Denser. My breath sounded louder than it should have. The trail narrowed fast, branches brushing against my shoulders. No wind. No animals. Just the steady rhythm of my footsteps. Then it stopped. The sound of walking. But I hadn't. I froze. And something behind me froze, too. I turned fast. Nothing there. I laughed, just once, sharp and forced, and kept walking. But then I heard it again. Not footsteps this time. Breathing. Not mine. Soft. Close. I turned again. Nothing. The trail was darker now, even though there were no clouds. I could barely see 5 feet ahead. My phone's flashlight was flickering, even though it had full battery. The beam stretched just far enough to show something on the ground ahead. A shoe. Just one. facing the wrong way. Like someone had been walking toward me, then turned suddenly. I stepped around it. Then I saw another. And another. A trail of single shoes, every 20 or 30 feet. All facing the same direction. All pointing back. I tried to turn around, but my feet felt stuck. Not physically. Just wrong. Like going back would trigger something I didn't understand. I kept walking. After what felt like an hour, I saw something ahead. Light. Not bright, dim, flickering, like a candle. It cast long shadows across the trail. As I got closer, I saw where it was coming from. A lantern. Old-fashioned. Rusted. Hanging from a tree branch. Beneath it, there was a bench. Wooden. Weathered. Out of place. Sitting on the bench was someone. Or something. I couldn't see a face. Just the outline of a figure. Tall. Still. Like it had been waiting. Then it spoke. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just a whisper. You shouldn't be on this path. I didn't respond. I couldn't. It raised a hand and pointed behind me. Something's following you, it said. Then the lantern flickered out. And everything went dark. I stood there in the dark, frozen, the silence pressing in from every side. I couldn't hear the breathing anymore, but I could feel it. Like heat on the back of my neck. Like someone standing just behind me. My phone's flashlight was dead now, not flickering, dead. The screen wouldn't even turn on. I wanted to run, but the trail behind me felt wrong. The figure had said something was following me, and somehow, I knew if I turned back, I'd meet it. So I did the only thing I could, I walked forward. Blindly. Hands out, brushing trees, boots crunching against fallen leaves and scattered shoes. I counted my steps. Tried to stay calm. 1, 2, 3. I lost count somewhere around 60. Then I felt it, open space. The trees weren't pressing against me anymore. I was in a clearing. The moonlight returned, just enough to make out the edges of the space. It was circular, maybe 30 feet across. In the center was a small, wooden structure. Like a shack, but older. No windows. Just a door. I shouldn't have gone in. But I did. The door creaked open with barely a push. The inside smelled like wet wood and copper. I couldn't see much, but I saw enough. The walls were lined with hooks. From each one hung a coat, some moldy, some newer. Below them, shoes. Dozens of them. All singles. There was a mirror at the far end, cracked down the middle, reflecting a shape behind me. Tall. Still. I spun around. Empty. But the door had closed. The air changed again. Colder. Not physical cold, something deeper. Like memory. Like grief. Then I heard footsteps. Not mine. Inside the shack. But I was alone. The steps were soft, but they echoed like they were in a vast room. They circled me once, then stopped behind the mirror. I stared at the crack down the middle, waiting. Something moved. Slowly, a hand reached around the edge of the frame from inside the reflection. Pale. Long-fingered. It touched the glass, then slid across it like it was feeling for something. Then a face appeared behind it. It wasn't the figure from the bench. It was mine. Not exactly. The face had my features, but wrong. Too smooth. Skin too tight. Mouth smiling in a way I don't know how to smile. The eyes were blank. No whites. Just two deep, black holes. It pressed its face to the mirror and whispered. "You've walked too far." I stumbled back, heart in my throat. My heel caught on something, one of the single shoes, and I fell hard. The mirror cracked again. A second line, splitting my reflection. The face inside smiled wider. Then, from the shadows, a voice spoke again. This time it wasn't mine. "Leave one behind," it said. "That's the rule." I stood slowly, backing toward the door. My eyes searched the room. The hooks. The coats. The shoes. The meaning clicked into place like a door latch. Every person who walked the middle path left something behind. A shoe. A coat. A face. I kicked off one shoe and dropped it on the floor. The mirror went still. I turned and ran barefoot, sprinting through the trees. The path behind me twisted, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I burst out near the fork, panting. Moonlight, pavement, the sound of crickets. Normal again. Except for the missing shoe. Except for the footprints that followed me all the way home. They weren't mine. They were barefoot. And they never stopped. I used to walk a specific route at night, 5 blocks around the neighborhood, then back through the alley behind my apartment. It wasn't scenic, but it passed by a long row of ground-level windows. I don't know why I liked them. Most were dark. A few glowed dimly from TVs or aquarium lights. Some were covered in thick curtains that didn't close all the way. It felt like walking past a dozen silent little lives. Glimpses. Glances. I never looked in for long. Never stopped. Until I did. It was the third window from the corner. Beige blinds half open. A couch visible. Empty. One of those soft yellow lights that makes a room feel too quiet. Nothing unusual. But then, I saw something move. Just a flash. I stopped. It was quick, like someone stepping out of the frame of the window just as I looked. I waited, watching. After a few seconds, a man stepped into view. Tall. Dressed in black. He stood perfectly still, his face shadowed, turned slightly toward the glass. Then he looked up. At me. Not just at the window. At me. Directly. I moved on fast, heart thumping. I didn't run, but I wanted to. I told myself I was being dramatic. People can look out windows. Doesn't mean they're looking at you. The next night, I walked a different route. Didn't go near that window. But the night after, I looped back. I wanted to see. Needed to prove I hadn't seen what I thought I saw. Same window. Same couch. Same light. No man. I was about to move on when something caught my eye. A smudge on the glass. A handprint. Pressed against the inside. Faint, but visible in the light. 5 fingers. Spread wide. I walked faster that night. Next day, I asked my landlord about the building. I said a friend might be moving in and wanted to know about available units. There's a vacant one on the corner, he said. Ground floor. 3rd window from the block. Anyone just move out? I asked. He hesitated. Said he was moving. Left most of his stuff. Never came back for it. That night, I walked the same route. It was like a dare now. The window glowed again. The man was back. Same clothes. Same stillness. But this time, he wasn't looking at the window. He was looking away. Toward the interior of the room. At someone. I couldn't see who. But I could see something, a shape. Hunched. Kneeling maybe. Just at the edge of the light. Not moving. I stood there a long time. Waiting. Then both figures moved at once, jerky, like puppets pulled too fast. The tall one raised a hand toward the other. Then the lights went out. I didn't walk home. I ran. That was a week ago. I haven't passed that window since. But I keep seeing it. Everywhere. In my head. In dreams. In reflections I know aren't mine. That exact room, that exact couch. That yellow light. And that man. Always still. Always waiting. Last night, I woke up and found my bedroom window open. I never open it. I don't even know if the latch works. But it was open a full 3 inches. There was a handprint on the glass. Inside. Same shape. Same spread. Same window. I didn't call anyone. I don't know why. It wasn't denial. I knew what I saw. It just didn't feel like something that could be explained. There's a handprint on my window. Doesn't exactly scream emergency. Not unless you saw the man too. I cleaned the glass, locked the window tight, wedged a chair under it. Then I sat on my couch and stared at the wall for an hour. I didn't sleep. I kept imagining the yellow light, the couch, the man turning toward the glass, and that other shape, half-lit, always at the edge. By the next night, I'd convinced myself I had to go back to that window. I needed to see if the light was still on, if they were still there. I had this sick feeling in my stomach, like something hadn't finished. Like I'd walked away too early, left the story in the middle. I went back at 11:03 p.m. Same route. Quiet streets. A car passed, headlights sweeping across the sidewalk. When I reached the third window, my breath caught in my throat. It was dark. No light. No shadows. The couch was still there, barely visible in the moonlight. No man. No second figure. I stood and waited. Maybe 5 minutes passed. Then I saw it. The curtain moved. Just slightly. Like a breath behind fabric. Then the light flicked on. Dim and yellow. Like always. The couch sat empty. No man. No figure. Just the room. I was about to walk away when I saw the reflection. Not in the window, in the glass of the bus stop across the street. It showed the window behind me. And in that reflection, there was someone on the couch. Sitting still. Head down. But when I turned around, the couch was empty again. I checked the reflection. Still there. Head slowly rising. Eyes pointed toward me. Mouth opening just slightly. Like it was trying to speak. I backed away fast. Almost fell. I turned the corner and walked straight home, skipping the alley. My hands were shaking too badly to get the key in the door. When I finally got inside, I pulled the blinds shut and threw a blanket over the window. I turned every light on and stayed up all night. In the morning, I went to work like nothing happened. That was last night. Tonight, I'm writing this because something's changed. The couch is here now. Not exactly the same, but close. Same shape, same ugly mustard fabric. I don't own a couch like that. Never have. But it's sitting in my living room. Right now. I thought I was losing it, but then I checked my photos. Took a shot of the room last week. No couch. Now it's in every picture. Like it's always been. Just behind me. The light in my room keeps dimming. Not flickering, just growing gradually yellow. The way cheap bulbs do when something draws too much power. Or when a story rewrites itself. I checked my bathroom mirror. My reflection's wrong. Not dramatically. Just a little off. My shoulders don't move when I breathe. My mouth doesn't match what I'm saying. It looks like me, but it's not. And behind that version of me, just at the edge of the mirror, there's a couch. And someone sitting on it. Head low. Rising. Watching. Mouth open. Trying to whistle.